Alright boys and girls, and welcome back to another building video. This time I'm coming back with a brand new, very large 4x4, ready to replace the Severance after that tough update we received a little bit ago. 4x4s are definitely my bread and butter. When it comes to building, I do enjoy working on these the most. I've always been more adapting to online raids than offline, and if your competitive team is able to throw this base down, you're going to receive one hell of an online raid. This build features an amazing compound that's been designed with respawns, retakes, and turret coverage all in mind, including an advanced seawall with an easy large furnace placement, and 4 early game towers allowing you to get turrets up very quick into the build, or just general electricity, electric furnaces and such. The base also features a mega starter, allowing you guys to build from more than just a 2x2 in the beginning, which is super nice. A new set of inner peak downs with early game angles, which are going to come in so handy for an early game raid, and one of the most fun and interesting open cores I've seen in a long time on a 4x4, allowing you guys to have access to some secret bedrooms, letting you retake the base very late into an online raid.
Yeah.
People have already done it, bro. Who's named these secret room above OC beds? Team? Hello?
That's for eviction.
May have been the Norwegians.
Immediately
course
just
it
giving
is.
themselves. And he was picking up an extra one as well. Yeah. No, nice. Little gamers. These are 2 net haters as well that were like, I don't want net. And they're straight up the net to place their beds. And I've not been able to do this in a while, but you can probably guess which TV series this name is based off of, and wow, it's a bang. If you've not seen this one, I would recommend it. But yeah, this base was a pretty big job, so drop me a little like, maybe a sub too, and a comment I would appreciate, and we'll get in the tour now. And we're in with the tour of the new base. Of course, it's the new 4x4, ready to replace the Severance after that lovely update that face punched through the builder's way. So now we got the full anti-siege tech with a new method that I'm pretty sure I at least came up with the idea to implement. It's just something we're repping on externals right now, and it made sense to use for anti-siege too. So it works out pretty well. If you guys got a minute, I got some cool stuff to show. The Patreon is now at a massive amount of members. I'm really thankful to everyone who's come by to check it out. We're also at 17 completely private bases that are on here, which you guys are all going to enjoy across different group sizes. Not to mention the Spink box that will always be updated every time I get online rated. I will try something else in there, and later versions will only be on the Patreon. Also, feel free to check out the Discord. It's where I have all of my settings in one place. And there's multiple great builders that can help you in any areas where you may get stuck on my builds or anything of your own. You can also open a ticket and request your own custom base design that's completely private to you and your description, allowing you to have your dream base for you and your team. This is a very premium product, and it's something that I like to put a lot of time into, but it's definitely worth checking out, and it's super well reviewed. So if you guys are considering it, maybe check it out. Appreciate you guys for listening. Hopefully it's better than your average sponsor, and let's get back to the video. It's 4 externals, and then we have wide gaps and freehands on the space, so keep that in mind. The freehands are pretty late into the build though, so you don't need to rush around for them or worry about it too much. But overall, this is the new big group 4x4 competitive group, what you're going to be looking to be building for a decent sized cost. But it's going to come with everything that you would like. So hopefully you boys and girls are going to be impressed. You can already see that we have a tunnel TC, and we've got 2 early game bedrooms to watch towards that. Great thing about the early game bedrooms is we get a windmill on there very early on, allowing you guys to get your turrets down as soon as possible. So the tunnel TC comes as follows. We can retake our TC over here all the way from gatehouse, so it gives you a little bit of room to play off, making sure nobody's up to anything crazy, and you can watch from the safety of your own compound. TC is tucked in here. Very important to have this locked. Not locked right now because the code lock didn't load with it, but important to have this locked if you want your anti-siege to work. And the first thing that I'll do is go ahead and demonstrate our anti-siege. So to explain this simply as I can, this is the main base over here. The main base TC comes from the core, following all the way along to this bedroom module where the freehand connects. Then it wraps around to the bedroom module, following the seawall, and eventually the seawall overlaps our external. So we can actually disconnect at this point here where the roof is. On the inside, we got a nice up and over coming through to break the twig, and popping that twig breaks the connection at this area, stopping it on the metal triangles. No longer does the seawall overlap. The nice thing about this anti-siege is it comes from 2 sides, so in case they break one connection, they'll need to break 2 just to get one external. Very, very valuable. Now we can go ahead and break this one too, and you'll see that our TC is in fact replaceable. Now obviously this is only something that the base owners have comfortability to be able to do, so you can see our TC just goes back in there. You need to like run out of priv and then back in to get it. It's kind of weird, so just wiggle like that. TC goes back in just fine with everything popped. But I'll show you if we re-add these connections now. Of course, leaving it in Twig, this one over here as well. You'll see now if I attempt to replace my TC, it's not going to go down over here, not even close. Of course, raiders, they can build Twig. So we'll build out as far as we can to double check that nothing is going to place. This is pretty much all I can do. Again, this is like an online raid scenario type thing, so it's very unlikely anyone's going to be getting to spam all this Twig. Should be able to do something about it, but you can see all the way out to the edge here, I cannot get a TC down whatsoever. What this prevents, for those of you who are not familiar, if they're able to replace the TC on an existing building block, i.e. any part of this tunnel, that means that they're going to take privilege all the way throughout here over to your wide gaps, preventing any embrasure replacement, any of your wide gaps, any doors on here, the entire gatehouse you will not be able to seal. They could door path it and you'll leave it open forever. They could unplug the turret up here for free. Essentially, bad, bad, bad. We do not want to lose our externals, so that's why we've anti-sieged those, and it's more common to see that in the larger group competitive builds. And we've got it set up very nicely here with a double disconnect that's simple enough to do, so hopefully you guys will appreciate that. I love anti-siege tours because it takes like 15 minutes before I even get inside the compound, but there's just so much explanation to do. But for those of you who maybe didn't quite wrap your head around it, essentially, good thing, hard to make. Happy to have it, basically. Coming into compound now, we have some nice retakes that look down throughout our compound. Good angles here, long and through. And we have a turret above our gatehouse, and that's watching pretty well behind the chain link. So as these high walls pop, it's going to be catching anyone trying to run through. And it just watches from one end to the other. The nice thing is, compound coverage is great with only 4 turrets, which leaves you guys with more turret opportunities to throw down elsewhere. So we have the gatehouse, and then we have the bedrooms. And those bedrooms, of course, come with the early game towers too. There's nice retakes going around from the kind of raised up wide gaps here, the wide gap China wall. It's going to give us an extra bit of splash damage here and a whole other layer for raiders to push through, forcing at the very least some ladders into the raid path, similar to how the seawall works. And there's obviously space for a large furnace here too. We'll block the turret a little bit, and I recommend just using electric furnaces, but if you're still in the Stone Ages, feel free to throw a furnace in here and you can do that too. Down below we have some good bedroom angles again, and this is where our reconnect is too. It's very important to follow the tutorial exactly at this point, or else you're going to accidentally have a reconnect it's potentially not going to work. This is the up and over that I flew through very quickly to wrap up and through, and this is the twig you're going to be breaking, and that's all the reconnect is. This roof doesn't do anything, it's just for symmetry. You can see the turret is still watching through and keeping an eye on us throughout that bedroom. I don't think I quite showed just how good this angle is down here. That is very long. You can really see a good bit of compound down there. So that's the up and over and the wrapping through. You can also jump on your seawall just to get up to the raised section as well. And these are some early game bedrooms that come with some nice tight Patrico angles. Inside here, we've got good Patricos. You can see they watch down and throughout the compound and over towards our external as well, which is pretty clean. We can keep a good eye on that from here. And you can throw a locker in here too for rekitting. Opening up, you can still shoot back from here if anyone's running around in the compound, which is pretty nice. But overall, some good head glitch protected angles, anti-raid base, and very early as well, which is great. If you want down below, you could also throw an early game battery in here, as there is storage already in these windows. So you might not need the locker below, and you could throw a battery to line up with that windmill. That pretty much wraps up the compound though. It's not too crazy, but it's nice and easy to seal. Seawall's obviously going to be amazing for online raid, and the high wall cost is great too, along with the barricade cost as well. Rather large compound, but it's 4 barricades to seal, so you're not going to need to keep too many blades in your storage. You're not going to keep too many blades in your comp box ready for sealing these up. It's not going to cost much at all. Now we can come into what's pretty much the wide gap shell. I wouldn't really call it a shell. It's more just we've raised some walls up to eat rockets. Without affecting shooting floor too much, these guys will eat some rockets and keep your mobility chutes safe for a little bit longer. Turrets watching as we push through. And again, you could throw a turret in this area as well, as it's not super covered. Just on top of the square here would work fine. We get some nice angles right over the seawall. This is where we would expect to see some high walls missing. So you can imagine this head glitch crouch spray being very, very efficient. These are 1 rocket to take out as well. You can throw a lock on them, so you don't have to worry about that being a particularly weak spot. It's still going to give you a little something to play off of. And again, we get some Patricos giving us some long angles down here. If the seawall is broken, then we're going to see all the way through to where these high walls are popping as well, which is really nice. And that's on all sides, wrapping all the way through. And then we also have our reverse waterfalls that are accessible from here, and there's rather a few of those taking us up to the shooting floor level. This first jump can be a little bit annoying. Once you get up there, you're off and straight up to shooting floor. and then you just have a shotgun trap defending the way up there, and that'll stop anyone from using that against you. And that takes us up to shooting floor, which I'll try not to spoil now. And of course, it's a nice 0 fall damage way down too. All right, we'll go ahead and get inside the base now. Everything else is nice and symmetrical. We have 2 entrances to the base, 2 main mobility chutes going up and through. So that's important to keep in mind. 4x4s always take so long to showcase before we actually get inside. It's my standard mobility chute with the retake from inside the basement, doing the up and over into our basement floor. This is where our basement is, or a level above. Our inner peaks are actually some new ones. Once again, I like to do different ones all the time and circle through them. These are from my friend Krebik. He showed me them, and I'm gonna rock these. I think they're pretty cool. We get the half walls through here, so we're forcing stand sprays for those of the people who are going to be in here that aren't so comfortable with stand spraying. You're gonna go hopefully win some fights with ease over here. And of course, the half wall is nice to play off of, and it's going to be super effective in an online raid scenario. As you know how basements work, they come with the retake and the drop down. So taking us inside, we do get access to a few beds. We get the retake onto the mobility chute. If you remember from here, that's our front door over there. Get a box above for rekits. And then we get 2 retakes, and of course these aren't as good when the half wall's in place. You can only hold a certain portion. You can still throw grenades from here up and over, and that's still going to work out well. But I do like this half wall, and I wouldn't like to sacrifice it. Retake will still be usable. We've got 2 jump ups from here, so that's a jump up as well. And you can see that the basement is not a full 4x4. It's in fact 2 sets like this on either side, keeping the base 2 sides symmetrical and giving us what is known as the mega starter. So we start from a standard 2x2 as per usual in the 4x4, but we wrap it off to the side, giving ourselves a mega open core level style loot room, which is nice for the larger groups. It's going to feel a lot more spacious and allow you to expand from starter a lot easier. You can see this wraps through to the other basement layer, again with the retakes onto our mobility chute, retakes onto our shell, and 2 jump ups back into shell as well. That's the mega starter. It's pretty standard these days for the larger teams. And then we jump up to a more familiar 2x2 as we go through. Every single level has a lot of storage potential. Throw down everything that you need, of course, and every drop down comes with a one-way. So you can see if we're standing on this square, we cannot fire back at anyone playing off of this window. So obviously that's going to be great for top downs. Not much they can do against those. Jumping up again, more storage, more defendability, more one-ways as we go through. Nice batteries here. That's a lot of walls for these batteries. Not a bad spot for some more early game ones. And we have other batteries up towards open core as well. There are a good few walls from the outside too. Then we can airlock out into our inners floor, and this is where the core mobility ends, and we need to start going back to mobility chutes. Set it up here with some med mats. Everyone gets a respawn up here too, which is nice. These are our inner peak downs, so we're using the ramp inners for now, and these follow through quite nicely, giving us decent mobility through. You do a little bit of jumping, but it feels natural enough. The nice part about having this double ramp setup is we get the Patrico angles very early on into the build. This is going to be some tight, difficult angles for players to fire back at, and it's giving us a little bit of downward potential before these walls come up, and of course some great angles out towards compound, and early game these will be more effective. But these are the inners. We get full coverage down below in the shell, and some unsuspecting angles too that are going to be hard for everyone to play off of, and of course you can HV through these with ease, so keep that in mind too. Everyone gets a bed in this level as well, which is super important, and then we have 2 mobility chutes to take us up. These mobility chutes connect up to shell, and you can see that they come with a one-way retake as well through here. Very unlikely you're going to get a kill off of this angle, but it's still good for gaining info without risking yourself whatsoever, and you can hit shots from here and at least deal some damage, and it's not uncommon for players to stand still and potentially hold a door, so you could still catch a kill that way. Next we can jump up to our open core level now, and again we have 2 jump ups taking us here. The open core in this one is very much inspired by Krub's open by Mr. Krub's open core that he had in his 4x4. I was certainly a fan of the monkey style bedrooms. After playing in a lot of chase boxes, it's very nice to have bedrooms that can only be accessed from a couple of directions and aren't part of a common raid path. Really good for online raid defense, and really good for having some beds left behind after a raid. This is the battery room I was telling you guys about. I think it's a decent spot to have it. It's 2 walls from the outside, and it's nearby to the windmills and where you guys are going to be spending the majority of your time. A little bit weird to see batteries in squares, I know, but this works fine for me and my team, and I'm sure it will for you guys too. We get drop boxes here with some beds as well, and then we get a nice vault core loot room in our open core with a great box setup as well. Inside the OC, there's space for beds, bags, lots of boxes, and workbenches too, of course. More bedrooms up here on this level with a mega loot room too. You can wrap beds all the way along and through. I was just keeping things neat and tidy in here. Overall, it's a nice spacious open core. I got to test this one out on 4Swipe. And the boys were very impressed, and let's just say they were fighting over the monkey bedrooms. This is not a full-blown monkey core, but we do have some bedrooms that you can access the open core from, and this is the only way to get to these beds. So they're very valuable beds that the entire team were battling over. While there aren't exactly any windows up from this level, it's still an unexpected height to retake the open core from, and you could sit back and just throw some nades or play off the airlock itself. It's perfectly fine as long as you know how to shoot your weapon. Another nice part about this monkey core bedroom, and why I think it's so valuable to have parts of the base that are only accessible in one specific way, is that raiders are never going to hit this path, and you're going to have these beds and boxes very late on into an online raid, which is super valuable. So we can drop down from here. It gives us one ways onto our shooting floor, making these beds even more valuable. While the shooting floor has no way to fight back or get towards us with any door path, then we can also drop down again, and this is going to take us to some more beds. And these beds have great retakes back into open core, giving us an ankle biter onto this level and just watching throughout the OC. Again, I really like these bedrooms, and it's so important to have beds that are hard to access and not on a common raid path. So we'll have 2 sets of those, and then you could probably fit 3 up on this level. So that gives you 5 secret bedrooms. That gives you 10 secret beds to scatter around between your favorite players. Really nice. I reckon this feature is going to be most of you guys' favorites, as it is mine. We can then wrap up and through to our shooting floor now, and we only connect the OC at 1 level, making things a little bit stronger and the door path more expensive from down below in shooting floor. These are our shooting floor one-ways, and again, these are one-way, which means nobody is going to be able to shoot back at you whilst you're standing inside this triangle. We have one round the front and on the sides too. Overall, very nice. We can also jump up to roof from here, but I'll wait for that. This takes us into a little corridor before our shooting floor begins. Again, line this up with beds, and we can play off the airlocks before heading out to shooting floor. 2 ways out, very nice. As for the shooting floor, we have a combination of the H-tune square over here, and then a combination of wide gaps. Our waterfalls line up, allowing us to drop down and return back up nice and safely. We get some great Patrico angles here as well, which is super clean, and a good downward here. It's pretty wide open on the wide gap side, but any taller raid bases won't be able to look straight down your shooting floor thanks to this shotfront setup, which is pretty clean. Then over here we get a couple of beds, and it's good to seal these off as they come with a nice little shooting floor retake looking back in through the Patricos, and then again we can look down and utilize the Patrico from here. We get a couple more Patricos up towards these breach peak levels, and a brutalist down the middle too, which we all love. And lastly, that also comes equipped with some roof retakes too. Overall, nice little setup here, good retake potential and great angles. As for the wide gaps, that's pretty standard stuff, really good coverage through here, and you can feel pretty confident taking anyone down from this level. H-tune square is just the same, nobody can drop through these. You can siren light them if you want to feel a bit safer, and we get some nice angles through and through. Then we got 2 sets of Patricos in the middle here. These are not head covered, so they're not the greatest against raid base, but it's still some tighter angles to use, and we're repping the sofa from Panda. Look at how toggleable these Patricos are when you wrap the sofa. Rest of the shooting floor is pretty much symmetrical as we wrap all the way through. Everything is pretty much the same, and we've got good retakes all throughout this level, making sure we don't lose it, but you could throw a turret in here too if you want as well. Let's go back into our mobility chute now, heading through the airlock, and you can see we're met with 2 options to head up. We can follow the main mobility back up if we'd like, giving us some one-way potential onto our roof, which is quite nice. These are decently wide angles. I could actually see you getting a full kill off of these, which is super nice. Or you can head up from this level, which is going to give us a slightly wider kind of retake, looking more up towards the roof. And if anyone's hiding around, you're going to play off that. Opening up this door exposes another one-way too, which would be definitely hard to get a full kill off of, but the info potential is still there. And then we airlock out into the center of our roof, and we can get an idea of the turrets up here and the angles that we have. So the turrets are tucked away all the way at the top. These are pretty hard to take down when you're in a attack heli. Not to mention we do have the SAMs that are decently protected as well from the outside. They are not blatantly obvious to take on. Go ahead and give you a little showcase of the angles we're working with. So we repeat the ones from down below in shooting floor. Again, toggling these angles with the sofa, giving us good downward and good distance angles, which is pretty cool. And then this kind of flat out one towards raid base as well. You can then see the downward angles repeat on the H-tune square, giving you a little bit of potential to shoot downwards from your roof. More downward angles here that are fault protected as well, so no issue using these. And you can strafe on them as well, which is really handy. Up on here, the wide gap repeats, a little bit open from there. I wouldn't really play off that. We do get a brutalist up on roof as well, covering a nice bit of space, and of course keeping us very safe if we do get the heavy pot on. More of a visual window here now, not really doing too much with this one. And we we have a little retake here next to the shop. You can spawn a bed on here and retake our roof just in case anyone up here is messing around and maybe trying to HV turrets and such. We can take them out from here and we can sell the goods from here. 4 of those in total. You could throw more in the middle if you are liking a bit of a supermarket up on your roof. Good bit of chain link on these turrets though, they're hard to take down. And they're watching throughout the middle of the roof too. All these wide gaps and angles just repeat, wrapping around with a nice symmetrical roof. And this turret on the backside likes to watch the door path, which I really like. So anyone trying to door bang through the base, this low wall is going to force them to at least take out the turret. So if they want to progress, they're going to need to take full control of roof, which I like as well. Makes things a little bit harder to offline. And that pretty much covers the entire base. Hopefully boys and girls are impressed with this one. This is definitely my new favorite 4x4. Of course, this is a larger group build. The cost is a scary one. This is for the competitive teams ready to dedicate themselves to quite a bit of hard work. And if they do, it's certainly going to pay off for them. You're going to get a mad online in this, and nobody's going to touch you offline wise either. Very impressed with this build, and I hope you guys are too. I'm going to go ahead and break down the cost for you now. First of all, on screen is the total build cost. Second up is that build cost in box amounts. And lastly is the total upkeep that's spread between 5 TCs. And of course, the main TC is holding the majority of that upkeep. If you guys are all impressed with that and you're ready to learn how to build it, I'm going to go ahead and break that down for you now. All right, let's start off now with the tutorial of the Targaryen. This is not a small base. This is going to be a big job. Ready to fully lose my voice. So we start off with a 2x2. No one saw it coming. We'll give that door frame to get out and we'll wrap the rest in. This is going to be our jump up here, and that's going to be our TC next to it. And from there, you can just seal this in with doors and floors, leaving this part over here open. We can go ahead and add in a couple of walls with a window on the side here for our one-way later on. And just leave that sealed for now. That'll do. Beautiful. Now we do get the mega starter here. So you're going to come out 1, 2, 3, 4, giving us a single door pass through between the starter and a mega loot room. Just like so. You can floor that off as well. Just like that. So you've got the full kind of length here with the 2x2 in the middle. It's important that where you start with the TC is not really the center of the base, so try not to get confused there. We'll raise up the second floor now just so we can see where that's actually going. Much easier to visualize with it all filled in just like that. And you can add your floors on there and bring this up one more height level just to give us a little bit more roof camp potential, just like that. We'll leave that sealed and we can do a bit of roof camping now. Let's go ahead and add on 2-sided symmetry now, because this base is going to be massive and the video is going to wind up being a Stevie level movie here if we don't get sim. So symmetry just means whatever I do over here is going to happen over there as well, so keep that in mind. We're going to finish off the full footprint, giving us our full 4x4 now. And then from there we're going to need to add the triangles on the corners too, as they're all going to have a job. We're going to go for our drop down on the left, like this. You can raise that up to come out, and we do our retake on the right. Retake on the right, drop down on the left. And that's just allowing us now to seal off our basement, which is so important, giving us some nice early game defendability. So we'll do the same thing again, jump up on the left, retake on the right. Beautiful. And that just allows us to cover all 4 sides of the shell with our retakes. And we can jump up from all 4 sides too. This is not a simple seal either, so we do a little retake window there. And for now you can just leave that with some glass on there, or embrasure, or even wooden window bars if it's wipe day. And then we seal in our basement with some door frames. So now we've got some defendability going on the base. Next we're going to need a way to get up to our shell, so we'll build that now. Wrapping around with 3 triangles, wrapping through to a door. And it's my usual standard entrance here, with the retake watching the front door. Now, I don't want to go too fast, but this is a big base, so hopefully you're going to practice this on a build server and not be actively trying to keep up with the video on vanilla. So we only have 2-side mobility on this base, so we're just going to honeycomb down here. Just like so. And there we go. And this is how the base should be looking now. I think the best thing we can do now is take ourselves to compound level. Now, the compound is actually going to be 4-sided symmetrical. which makes life a lot easier for us. 4-side symmetrical compound, and then the rest of the base is 2-side symmetrical. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll try and have it on screen marked so everything's obvious as to what's going on. But right now we are on a 4-sided symmetrical. So we'll start by doing the H-tune square, and there's a simple build out for that. We're going to come off the airlock and out with a square like so. Then we're going to bend to the left with a triangle, into a square, into a triangle, into a square. And that's the kind of shape we're looking for, where the corner of this square points into the corner of these two triangles. And then we do a similar build out just to join everything up. And we delete what we do not need, which is all of this. There we go. We do need that. There we are. And we finish it off by cutting in towards the base like so. Then we can go ahead and upgrade all of this stuff. And right now, all these foundations are not technically touching the base. This is not a connection here, so keep that in mind. We do need to link everything up and make sure it's technically touching. So we go window, window, wall, wall, and then a half wall here. And that links all of these foundations together, and it links them to main base. Very important to do that, or you're going to see some decay. Don't add anything on here just yet, or else it's going to block the square placement. You can see we don't want to rush ahead and do that until we've done our wide gaps, so leave these ones free and just place what I've placed. Super important. So that's how all of our corners should be looking, setting it up like that. Very nice. Next, we'll go ahead and get the wide gaps done so that we can get some TCs down. We're going to be using the 3 square wide gap method, so we're going to come out 1, 2, 3, cap it with a triangle, and then return back, giving us a row of triangles, just like that. You can finish it off into a wider set. Here we go. From here, we can go out 1, 2, 3, 4, triangle, and you should be able to get your TC down on that now. Sometimes you might need to back up, come forward just to get it through. Here we are. You can throw your TC down just like that. You can throw a door in front. And then just seal it off. Assuming you don't have the mats to continue, you can just leave the TC in this state. All the twig will decay, but you can come back when you're ready. But if you're ready to go, we'll go ahead and do it all now. So everything can be upgraded, and I'll start building again with B grade. There we are. We'll add 2 triangles off the first square, add a double door to lead us out, into single door airlock, and then also our way through to the tunnel TC. Over here we can add in our half walls, floating a triangle on there, and the windows in front. Then they get chain link on the back, and low walls on the front to keep our heads safe. We can also low wall here to stop anyone coming through, and we can half wall on the back to keep our turret safe, and just throw a ceiling on top for the turret. And while we're here, we might as well close up the TC. There's nothing crazy goes on there. To continue our compound, we need to come off of these 4 squares now. We still have 4-sided symmetry on, and this is where the freehanding goes. The nice thing is you can get all your externals down and ready to build the base without even having to freehand. But there is some in this design. So we're going to come off either side of the square. It doesn't matter. We're going to meet in the middle anyway. And we're going to build off with a triangle into a square. You can follow this line down here into a double low wall. And then I'll throw a crosshair on screen so you can see where I'm lining up. If you copy my settings so we can actually see the textures on the low walls, you'll be able to know what you're doing. But roughly, we want to position our crosshair here. Position your crosshair in the center of these 2 low walls so that it's quickly changing from blue to blue on either side. That's how you know you're pretty much in the center of these 2. And then for the height of the foundation, that is judged by how high up your crosshair is. Now, the best way to freehand, as I've gone over in a few different videos, is to center your crosshair and then press tab. Once you've done that, you can move your mouse as freely as you want, because it's essential that we do not move our crosshair once it's been positioned. So now that I'm inside the menu, I'm safe to pick up my mouse away from the pad, and there's now no risk of me accidentally moving it. With the mouse now in my hand and no longer in the pad, I'm able to hold right click and open up the scrolling menu. Now that this menu is open, I'm safe to put the mouse back down on the pad and move towards demolish. I can then pick it back up again and left click. I'm going to do the same again, right click while in my hand, move over on the pad, pick it back up and left click. That's ensured that my crosshair has not moved whatsoever. We can then switch over to our building plan, right click in the hand, move on the wheel in the pad, back up and left click, and then you can just back up once. Just a little touch. And that should be it. We'll double check how that works though. We're bringing it back with a square into 2 triangles, and then we do the stability test. We're going to place a singular frame on this freehand section and check the stability. Don't add 2, don't add 3, don't add anything else. We're checking one frame and how it affects these 2 windows. That's the test. You do anything else and your test is not going to work. So we throw that down and we've got stability of 79%. That's exactly what we're looking for. Anything between 78 and 79% is what we need. If yours is a higher number than 79, it means you've added extra frames. We're just checking with a singular frame, remember. And if yours is lower than that, it means it's not connected to these windows. And the step that you missed was the backing up at the end. All the steps are very important, and each error lets us know which step went wrong. So if that's where yours went wrong, you need to make sure you back up. If your foundations are red, that means your crosshair moved. And those are pretty much the only things that can go wrong. But this is what we'd like, so this is what we got. We can go ahead and upgrade. We don't actually want a frame here. This is not part of the build, so don't upgrade this. But we do need to connect this to Mainbase to make sure these don't decay. So for now, we're just going to add in a couple of walls. There we go. Now, if this does start decaying, that means that something went wrong in your freehand. And I've explained it the best I can in video. But if you want to join the Discord, I can break it down again in text. But I can't explain it much better than I just did there, I don't think, but I will try. Next, we need to go ahead and build up this whole 2 triangle section because we have a weird connection going on here. So you need to be ready to commit a decent amount of materials for this area. We enter with a single door over here, and then we wrap into an up and over through to this next single door at the top, like so. Now, it's very important that these 2 sections are full walls. You cannot half wall. I know you may have some terrain issues or something like that, but it's essential that these are full walls because we're going to have a roof connecting at half height. And when a roof connects to a wall at half height like this is not actually a connection. It doesn't recognize it, but if this was a half wall, it would. So it's so essential that you follow along to the exact ability here as you can. And if your terrain is getting in the way, try your best to work around it. If not, you'll have no anti-siege on your TCs, and you'll need to go out a lot further than this. So let's go ahead and add the now bedroom module / seawall section. So we're going to come out with a square into 2 triangles, wrapping it through like that. This is the shape that we want, and we do not want to leave any foundations on the ground creating a connection. That's going to ruin anti-siege too. This is one part where you really need to listen up and make sure everything is followed down to a T, or else we're going to mess things up. We're going to place a triangle off here, and that's going to be your early game battery. If you're ready to throw that down now, you might as well. We're going to do windmills really soon. Then from there, you can add in windows and a door, and wrap this whole section in half walls too for some extra boxes. Over here, you can add in a full wall, like that, then half wall into a floor. Just seal that entire area up, adding a low wall at the bottom for our Patrico. Then from there, it's a half wall into a low wall. You could even take that one out in the middle. It looks ugly. There we go. And then do an embrasure of your choice, either flipped or not flipped, depending on how the terrain is looking or if you'd like a tighter angle. Now, this particular module is not connected to this, so we do need to link it up. Go ahead and place a triangle down the middle just to cover any gaps, and then add in 2 square roofs. Ideally, make those DLC roofs because they look much nicer in my opinion. And you don't need to understand what's going on here, but I might as well explain. Currently, this is still not connected to this. While it may look like it is, it's unfortunately not. We need to come on the inside and place a twig triangle right here. That now connects this to this, and then connects it to everything. Very important to understand how that works. This one over here is doing nothing. Don't add any triangles in here. This one's just for style points. Don't let it confuse you. But this is how we are rocking that. So for now, this is how the bedroom module is going to be set up. I'm going to go ahead and rush now to our windmill. I think it's pretty important to get that down as quickly as we can. So off the main square, we can go up 1, 2, like that. And then off the sides, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. And that's for our Patricos. There we go. And from there, you can add in a floating triangle to give us a locker, a couple of windows, a couple of frames. If you can afford it, throw some grills in here. It makes the peak just a little bit better and a little bit safer. But if this is something that your builder forgets to do, it's not a massive deal. Then you can just keep the head safe at the top of this, like so. And when you're placing your windmill, make sure you don't have any issues later on towards shooting floor, and just place this as far back as you can. So give yourself something to stand on. And don't place it forward like this. it's going to block things later on. Just slam it right back, and then you'll run into no issues. There we go. So not on the square quite, just sitting back like that. That'll prevent anything going wrong down the line. Then you can net up towards this, and net is not a BP. You just need some rope. So try and hold on to rope if you can. And there you are. Now you have early game power and early game batteries, and you are ready to maybe even throw some turrets in this if you've found any, depending on how wipe day is going. Next, I want to go ahead and add in the seawall, just to get our anti-siege already set up and keep our externals super safe. Next, I want to add in the seawall because currently our externals are not anti-siege. It's very important that they are, because if an early game raid comes right now, your TCs are very takeable. So go ahead and add this in to make sure that our TCs are safe. I'm going to wrap through with a couple of triangles like so, and then we can just add a half wall on this. Then you can come off the half wall with a triangle into a square, into a triangle, breaking the square, and a second triangle goes down, and that just strengthens things a little bit more. You can wrap all of this in half walls, making the connection a little bit harder to pop. And then from there, you can add in a second piece of chain link and a triangle to help further push the TC over. And that's where the chain link goes on this little TC here. And you can throw your turret in there as well if you're lucky enough to get it. Not in the center, but a little bit to the back. Now watch us back here and down here. Lovely. So we'll do the same over here now. We wrap through with triangles. You want the foundation to be on this side of the seawall. If you leave one out here, well, the seawall becomes a little bit less effective, doesn't it? Then from there, we do a triangle, square, triangle, break it all, and then we wrap this in, strengthening the connection, pushing it out towards the TC, and giving us some more chain link for the turret. Boom. There we go. Next, we can add some angles in our compound before we go ahead and rush around and do anything else. I just want to set these up so that they are ready for use. So we float ourselves a little triangle here, and we bring through a square frame. Then from there, you can add a triangle on that, and you break the floor. We do the same over here. Boom. And we're still four-sided sim right now, and we just float down there and give it a little triangle roof to keep our heads safe. And the embrasures can go down again, depending. Choose if you like it tight or if you prefer a little bit more of a open angle that looks down towards some messy terrain. Then from here, if you have beds, you can throw them in, or a ramp works too. You could just leave it twig for now, allows you to sit on there, and then when you get the beds, you can throw beds in here. So those angles are set up and ready to use. Now that we've done all this, your base is already anti-siege and it's all set up. If these externals are ever broken, you're going to need to pop the connect on the inside to replace them. I feel like not having that be part of the build step is going to give some of you guys a shock. Some of you may not even realize what the base offers while you're living inside of it. You may never get to test it. I think this is the best order to do it in though. So hopefully I have confused no one, but we're trying our best here. It's a confusing base. Now, we're ready for some high walls, and we're going to start from the gatehouse. This part is not actually included, so it never actually meets at this point. Keep that in mind while you're placing high walls. So we're looking for it to clip into this. So we're going to start on the gatehouse, clipping the high wall in, leaving no gaps. You can see it's kind of bending away from the gatehouse now in more of a diagonal line as opposed to a straight line. You can see we're kind of coming away just like this. Next, we're going to add in a high wall over here, and I'll take the mirror off for this because it'd be kind of weird. We're looking to place this almost flat up against the triangle. So you have two high walls just like this that meet in the middle on this triangle basically. Start with one there. And then we can do the next one, hold shift so that it goes blue. And we'll do the next one over here. And we're looking for that to make a pretty much a straight line coming through. If it doesn't do it perfectly, it's not going to be a massive deal. But once you've done that, you should have a nice one high wall seal to do in the middle here. If there's any gaps again, it's not a massive deal. There we go. And there we go. And that seals up our compound nice and easy. If you are looking to do large furnaces, then you can throw these down. Next to where the half wall is going to be the most convenient spot to access those from. So you can kind of throw that down just right here pretty much. There we go, like that. But there we are, our large furnaces are down, our high walls are down, we're looking pretty strong and pretty safe. If you get your bedroom stocked out here, you're going to be in for a good chance of defending an early game raid. You can see the kind of coverage that these towers will have. Just simply opening the door is going to expose so much of the base, which is massive. Now we're going to work back on the main base and try and add some inner peak downs to this. So we're going to go into two-sided sim, and I'll have marked that somewhere on screen. What essentially that means is everything I do over here is going to happen over there, but it's not going to happen over here now. So we get that. All of this side is just pure honeycombing, so you can just wrap that in. And if you're looking to save cost, you can leave that wall out in the middle. Technically, you don't need it. It will help to eat some rockets, but not a massive deal. Wrap in the mobility chute as well now, and we can do the same over here. And then you just double door through from your mobility chute. And we'll continue this up one more, keeping in mind we do get a one-way onto the inners, so don't rush ahead too much there. Over on this side, we double half wall, double window, frame in the middle, and then wrap it in again, leading out, capping it off with half walls. There we go. So now our jump up comes with this little section here. And we need a couple of embrasures on that to make it a one-way officially. There we go. Sorted. The rest of this is so easy, it's all honeycombing. Over on this side again, pure honeycombing. Again, you could leave one wall out if you're trying not to break the budget. Over on the corners though, things get a little bit different. Don't rush ahead. We're going to be half walling on the combing, full walling on the shell. There we go. Just like that. And we'll add in our frames now as well. There we go. Perfect. And then we can add a floor on the corners, a frame on the inside. If you guys are rich, get a grill in here, but it's not a massive deal. This one is not super important. You can add the half walls in, floor it off, and your embrasures go this way around with a ramp to sit on. And it's very important that the ramp is facing down this way. And we'll do the same over here. And the ramp faces down the next way. So you can see we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, all in order like this. So our ramps aren't meeting, they're all going in one direction. Hopefully that makes sense. And we'll add this peak in as well. And you can see what I mean by having these angles early game now is so advantageous. And that raid comes, and you've got this area set up, plus the towers, early game turrets. I don't know if they're going to pull it off. I do not know. Next, we can go ahead and raise up the core. Only makes sense to bring this to the same height. And it's just a full wrap around with nothing crazy going on. We'll take the symmetry off for now because we're just on the inside of the base. And we're wrapping around again, just like so. Then from here, we can wrap up to this level. We exit over here, we get a window to look out, and we wrap double doors through with walls all around. And there we go. Beautiful. Back on the two-sided sim now. And we're once again doing pure honeycombing on these sets of triangles. The next thing to do for your inner peak downs is look towards your ramp. Imagine a gap here and place a square on the next one. So hopefully that makes sense. The way the ramp is facing is going to be left open. Place a square on the next one. We can go down from underneath and add our head glitch half wall with a frame on top and a half wall again. Same over here. Just like that. And on the corners, we can just add straight frames going up, maximizing stability and visibility. Then when we're back up on top, we can use the half wall we just placed to add in a temporary floor like this. Twig. Place a ramp coming through. So it's sitting just like this, and then we can break the twig. Hopefully you've got a gun on you to make life easier. And then we can do the same over here too. And those are our inner peak downs done. We can throw some frames in here now. If you want to split this off with doors, you can. Or if you just want to stabilize the next coming floors, that works too. The next thing that we're moving on to is the open core. And ideally we want to armor all of this if we can. Even the core as well. And just seals all up like that. And ideally everything's honeycombed so that any loot rooms we're going to have above us are nice and safe. Alright, moving on to the next higher level of this floor, we're going to go ahead and add in some walls around the back of our mobility chute. We connect in with double doors like so, and we continue jumping up again. Immediately on your right of the mobility chute, we're going to have a battery room. This battery room will be 2 walls from the outside, so it's not a bad spot for your batteries, plus it's close to open core to make life easier. So you can throw a few batteries in here and some boxes like I had in the tour. Directly in front of you will be a jump up, like so. And then over to your left, we're going to set up a little bit of a half-height loot room here, as we're going to have boxes above us. So it's going to sit like this, giving you boxes that will chill in there. Don't have a box on me to demonstrate. There we go. Like that. And we can just add a double door frame to divide. And beds can go in here. Next, we'll jump up to our open core. So we're going to add a little cross down the middle to divide things up. And we'll add floors on top. Immediately to our right, we're going to get a vault core loot room. So we'll add in a window here like this. We'll wrap it in from the back. We'll give it a floating triangle. And we'll also give it a ramp on the inside. Like that. Now, while this looks a little bit weird, you can actually just seal it in. And the boxes here can be placed at any time. Just bring them as close forward as you can. So they're nice and easy to access. I see a lot of people having the boxes quite far away. It's important to bring these as close as you can so it's not annoying for your team to use. That's how you set that one up. Over here is going to be part of our secret bedrooms. So we add in a window here. The ramp coming up to give us some boxes again. And the only way to get to this bedroom, remember, is to wrap up and over with the monkey core. So we wrap back and through like this. So you'll have double doors coming through to here, meeting in the middle like that. Don't rush ahead on any of these mobility chutes because we do have one ways for our shooting floor, so keep that in mind. And you can just seal that in for now as a nice little retake bedroom. A little embrasure on there. There we go. Above this window, we have kind of the monkey core section, so we're just going to add a standard loot room here. And the netting does not get in the way of your industrial. We had that already tested, so don't worry. Bring these boxes decently far to the center. Not too far forward though, or they're going to get in the way of the net. Double check that works. There we go. Then over here, we're just going to have another loot room, pretty similar. However, we'll come around the back and give it a triangle, making the boxes a little bit easier to access, like so. A ramp there. You can push those a little bit back so that we can stand on this lip to access the upper two, like so. Don't normally do the box placement, but that's just important to check. Next, you can have door above door and window above wall, like this. And then frame and floor, like that. There we go. Once we jump up to the next level, we're going to have bedrooms over here and a mega loot room over here. Let's rotate that the right way. Whoops. So it's sitting like that. You can drop extra boxes down here. You might need to break these ones if they're peeking through. That's the only issue with placing your boxes early. Then you can add a triangle in here. And you can also add another one coming off of that level as well for the mega loot room. And then for there, I like to place these boxes front facing like this. And then again, these can be decently far forward. And same again. And for those ones, you can kind of just stand on a box. Full cheesing the tutorial, but if you go like that, there we go. Give us a little embrasure here. This is not a bad spot for your workbench down the front as well. There we go. We get a little embrasure here to shoot back from. The mobility chute does not meet up at this level, so don't worry about that. We can add in the half walls into the windows for our one ways. We can continue the chute going up with the frames, but we do not actually meet up at this level. So you can just wall that in, frame there. And from there we can wall this on the back, cover this part up, and then we're back into one ways going on to roof. We jump up from here, connects it out from here. Windows now looking towards roof. Half wall, low wall on the back so the turret sees. And then we come through just like that. So we've got to build it all the way up to this level, and I'll place the embrasures so things look a lot nicer here. Embrasure placement is a lot easier recently, which is nice. Yeah, you want to place those all like that. Very important. Now you'll remember if we monkey up and over, we can come into a single door. Beds over here. Then we get the option to drop down over here. And we do need the one ways as well to set those up. Half wall window. Walking through. Come through to your drop down like this. You can wall that in. And this lets us retake the shooting floor whilst being so far away from shooting floor on any door path. Wrapping in like that. You can set things up like this, just to give us nice, good one-ways. There we go. And then we drop down to the bedroom over here, retaking the open core. So good little retakes from there, and they're on a wide door path, which is super nice. And then in the middle over here, things get a little bit different. So we do get half wall window in front of window, half wall door in front of door, and then the rest of this just walls in. Super nice. So does this section. We cover up these doors here to make sure nobody looks into the monkey core, like that. And we exit out like that. You can seal this off down the middle coming through into our single door, double door airlock that will take us out onto roof, giving us a one-way behind us and a decently open retake from above. There we go. As for this little walkway throughout shooting floor, we can just add in doors coming through, single door, double door airlock, and a window to check outside before we leave. Just like that. And all that sealing up very nice. Next, we're going to throw some floors down for our shooting floor. It's going to cover up any gaps in these one-ways for starters and allow us to at least move through this level a little bit. Placing wide gaps is so annoying, so we're going to throw on the four-sided sim for this. But the nice thing is this base has reverse waterfalls, which is going to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to doing your wide gaps. So we'll set those up first, and hopefully that helps a little bit. So to get the reverse waterfalls going, make your way down to this little half wall section. We're going to add a frame on top with a half wall, a frame to the left, and then we're just going to bring these frames together all the way up to the top. You can go ahead and add this in right at the final level as well, and that'll secure us up. Then from there you can wrap this in walls. And you want to have the walls over here facing towards the H-Tune square, and then we want the single door facing towards this kind of open section. Give it a half wall in there so that we can put a shotgun trap inside, and then seal it in with a single door. And then you can throw all the netting in here. Again, hopefully you've got some rope stopping there for now. And then we'll add in these sections here and the ramps so you can actually make the jump over and up. You don't want anyone sneaking in on this level, so get your shop front in here too, with the whole of the shop front facing towards the ramp here, actually giving us the angle. There we go. And then from there, you could just add a ladder up against here or a little shelf or whatever seems simplest for the team, depending on how you guys are moving. And then you can just head right up. And this should help you guys doing your shooting floor. When you've got all of these set up, it's going to make life a little bit easier. So we do have quite a few of these, which is super nice. So we'll do the same on this side as well. We go half wall, frame like that, then frame, and then we just match this height all the way up to the top. One level before we add in a frame and we full join it up. Then we have our walls here, the gap facing towards this big open section. There we go. And then we get all of our netting in there as well, with our breach peaks at the bottom here. And a ladder to help us get up. And hopefully that helps with adding some frames later on. Another thing that we can do is just fully add the combing in on this level. So all of that gets raised up, just like so, on every side. And I'm still on four-sided symmetry, so keep that in mind. The rest of the shooting floor is actually pretty simple. These walls just stop here, they're fully extra splash damage. We can also raise these up for splash 2. And we can raise up the squares to the second height level as well. All of this still on the four-sided section. On the backs of the squares, we'll do these as it's simplest. Just raising all of these up to the actual shooting floor height. No half-wall stuff going on here. We're just bringing it all up to that level. And that's on every side. Hopefully the waterfalls help. On the front section here, nothing crazy again. Just raising frames all the way up to this height level. Next over here, it's also pretty simple. We're just going to raise the frames up. These front three facing ones, nothing crazy happens. We just take those all the way up to the same height again, just like so. Then on these sides, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 into a half wall and then bring that up. So it's just peaking above one level. 34, up and over. There we go. Those are our frames. Pretty simple stuff. Nothing too crazy. Hopefully the waterfalls made life a little bit easier. Now we can get some floors in our shooting floor. So we're still on four-sided sim to keep this simple. We're on the corners now. We'll start by adding the square, then the 2 triangles just like that. Over on this section, we're going to fully give it the 3 squares, dropping our wide gaps down the middle like that. And over here we can add a triangle in the middle. A couple of triangles coming through just like so. we do a window here and a window here, and they're going to divide through with that floating frame. Just like that. Double door to bring us in, and you can see we can retake from here looking back, and then we can do an angle from here with a little ramp to help us peek, like so. Over here you can come out away from the frame with some extra ones, raising those up like so, giving us some nice angles on the breach peak. There we go. Then we wrap in half walls, wrap in windows, and provide a bit of stability in the middle here, just to make life easier. And some more stability there as well. Ideally, these are brutalist. Oh. Giving us that an amazing angle we all love. And then you can reverse these on the back and low wall down the middle for our retake onto roof. There we go. To keep our head safe over here, it's not actually just a half wall. We do a window, and then we can cover that up. There we go. Over on the corner sections, things are going to get a little bit different now. We come out with a triangle frame, and we get more stability by adding square frame here. Then down the front, we can add in a shop front, like this. That's a real shop front, not the wooden one. And the reason why we have to do this is a raid base at this height level gets a nice view down the shooting floor due to the wide gaps. So we're just covering this up so that it can be used against us. So we do that over here as well. There we go. Then from there we can add in half walls here and here, giving us a window retake here. You can add your windows in here, and then just frames on the back. And again, until you've got the beds, just leave that twig, and then you can throw beds in here to replace later on, and that helps us use the angles. Then once you've done that, that's the full shooting floor done. We're ready to do some roof stuff. We're going to add some frames in here for stability though. So bring all of these along. Again, I'm on 4-sided symmetry at the moment, so keep that in mind. And then join the floors up like this for max stability. Bringing those through. And all of those are done. I'm going to do the one little bit in the middle here that provides 2-sided symmetry. So we just wrap this in half walls, then frames, then chain link. And that just keeps it looking symmetrical in the middle, and it gives the turrets a little bit more protection too, which is nice. Alright, we'll start on the furthest part of roof out with a little vending machine spot, like that. And from there you can add some windows, and a window here, and some doors to get in. Give us one little frame in the middle there for a retake. And honestly, we can just floor that and keep it decently tight like this. Then from there we'll raise up frames to the height of 2. And wrap this in half walls on the back and seal it all in if we can. Missing stability there, but that's where our turret goes, is right at the back. With a little bit of chain link on the left and right. And there we go. Down here we can keep the head safe on the breach peak with some low walls, just like so. Then over here we're going to keep the brutalist peak a little bit safer by adding in a metal floor on top, like so. Then from there we can add in some frames on the corners to repeat the angle in shooting floor, like so. Again, if you can afford the grill, you might as well. And until you have the beds, just leave that wood and seal it in. There we go. And we'll have a SAM set on here, so you might as well just close that in and give it full stability. Over here you can add a half wall window, like that. And then onto this side we can add in a frame to float over, giving us an angle down like this. Half wall to keep it safe, and a window at the top here to look out of. There we go. Then lastly add in a brutalist if we can. And a little bit of cover for a SAM site with some low walls in the middle here for aura. There we go. Row down your SAM sites over here. And throw down your windmills over here. Lastly, a little bit of embrasure work. Normal brutalist here. Just keep these full window for looking out. and embrasure all that off. And then once you've done that, that completes the base design. Hopefully you boys and girls have enjoyed this video. If you did, then please feel free to leave me a like and drop me a comment down below. This base is an absolute masterpiece, and I do think it's the best big group 4x4 for you guys to rock just now. Remember to check out the Patreon and the customs, leave a like, and maybe drop a sub if you're sound, and I'll see you boys and girls in the next video in a bit.